Now this is something else that's a little bit special. This is another rare engine that I've been after for a long time. The seller described this as a Mammoth model steam engine. Well, it's not a Mammoth. What it is one of two engines that were produced by the Wilson brothers in the UK around about 1948, that sort of time period. Now I've got the larger one of their engines, I've had that for some time, but the smaller one has eluded me until today. And this is the smaller one of the two Wilson's brother engines. Now let's come in for a bit of a closer, let's get a bit closer on it. Now this one has been mounted on a very nice, I think this might actually be oak, I have to look into this, nice hardwood base. Didn't come with that standard, this was the original base which has the holes drilled in it for, you know, Meccano applications. It's missing the burner, but other than that it's complete. I do not believe that this is the correct chimney. I think this is just a piece of pipe that someone's put in as a chimney. The safety valve looks like it needs attention, but apart from the fact that it's very, very grubby, it's all there. So it really needs stripping down, cleaning up. Some parts are going to need repainting. It's very tricky with this because the boiler surround, which is this piece here, it was originally painted red, and the problem is even when you use high temperature paint it normally ends up going black, much like this one has. So so we'll see, but no, it's in very good condition. Everything's free. This all turns, you know, the regulator works, turns, the safety valve is free to unscrew. So yeah, it just needs really stripping down, taking apart and cleaning up. Well, a significant amount of work has gone into this Wilson Brothers small vertical boiler model steam engine. As you know, some of the parts were the first ones to use the new ultrasonic cleaner that I've just acquired, and that helped an awful lot with the cleaning process. But the boiler and the boiler shroud were really caked in soot, as was the boiler mounting ring here. So I've soaked those in vinegar. That was an overnight job, and that got a lot of the soot off. And then wire brushed the rest to bring it down to bare metal. Also, the main steam pipe was pretty much clogged up with silt. So I've soaked that in vinegar too, and that's now clear. All the ports and everything on the main engine block here, they're all clear now. But something I thought might be interesting to some of the fellow steamers out there, model steam engine collectors, and that is the boiler on this engine is actually very small once you get it out of the shroud. It's absolutely tiny. Look at that. Isn't that amazing? But it is copper, which is really nice. And it's all cleaned up reasonably well. So, yeah. So the next stage is I'm going to edge prime and paint the base. I'm going to leave the upright bare metal, because it's very difficult to determine from the few pictures there are of these engines online what colour this actually was. So I think I'll just leave that bare. It's quite nice looking like that. And the shroud and the top of the boiler, they were painted red. Now I've got some new red high temperature paint coming, which I'm going to try, see how that goes. But I've not had a lot of success with the red high temperature paint. I shall probably paint the inside of the shroud black, because I think that's what it was painted before. So yeah, so it's basically just paint now and putting it back together. Well, as you can see, the boiler shroud and the boiler itself, the top anyway, have been painted. And that's this new heat resistant red paint. So it did come out alright, finished alright, but I'm not sure how well it's going to hold up when it's actually in situ. Now we're going to reassemble it, and that's a little bit tricky. I'll show you why. So the boiler itself sits inside the shroud, as you can see, like this. Okay. Now, I'll try and get some light up inside there so we can see what's gonna happen when it comes to actually assembling this. So with the boiler in the shroud, I've got it out now, we've got to get a nut and hold it up inside that little gap, just there. See where the holes are? The nut's got to go behind those holes. So we've got to get the nuts up inside there and hold them while the shroud is on. Dead easy. So my solution to this problem has been to actually make a tool, and this is it. highly expensive knot. And basically what it is, it's a thin strip of brass which has had a notch cut in the top to take a nut, and then behind it there is another plate of brass, thin strip, and basically the nut sits in that cut out notch, but there's also a bit of double-sided sticky there, so hopefully if I place the nut in there it will stay in place like that, and then I will be able to get the nut. Let's put this shroud on. So the theory is I can now get the nut coming from here up inside like this, hold it in place using that rod, and then put the screws in. That is the theory. And I'm now about to try doing that. Well, even with the assistance of my specially made little tool, that was still not fun. However, we got there in the end, and the shroud is mounted back to the boiler, and the whole thing is mounted back to the base plate. So yeah, I'm quite pleased with that. It was quite a lot of work involved getting to this stage, but yeah, I think it's turned out okay. So we can now get on and do the final assembly. The Wilson Brothers small vertical boiler model steam engine is finally done, and I'm really pleased about this one. It came out really well. I was surprised, quite frankly, but it did. It turned out really, really well. And take a good look, because I'm fairly certain that once we try and steam this, that lovely red boiler is going to turn black. I hope not, but as I say, this is a new high temperature engine paint I'm trying, but I've never had much luck with the high temperature red engine paints. They don't tend to hold their colour very well, even though they're supposed to be high temperature. Once you get the boiler warmed up, they tend to blacken off. But at the moment it looks really, really nice. We'll let it come round, and we'll hoik out the little burner. Yeah, the burner took quite a bit of time to make, actually. It's surprising it doesn't look like much, but it actually does require a considerable amount of work. I had to machine out the 2 wick tubes and then put a shoulder on them so that they would sit on the surface of the top part of the burner body, and obviously I wanted them to be the same height, so you have to take your time with it. The filler tube is slightly smaller, but of course that's got to be threaded to take the little cap, the burner filler cap. Just come in a little closer so you can see that. Yeah, so you know, it all takes quite a lot of time. Probably took me an afternoon to make the burner tubes and the filler tube and the filler cap. So yeah, there's a considerable amount of time involved in doing this. But I think it turned out quite well. So yeah, we're looking forward to getting it steamed. That's obviously the next stage. What else did we have to do? Oh yes, we had to make the chimney, which of course required making the little olive ferrule bit on the top, putting it all together, and the little pulley down here as well. Now I only had pictures to go on for all of this, so you know, I'm guesstimating sizes, but I'm fairly sure that looking at the pictures, particularly very grateful to my friend and fellow collector Mike Stacey. His website, put a link to his website in the description. He has one of these. He also has the box for one of these, which has a picture on the side of it, which is fantastic. Really useful resource. But yeah, it looks really, really nice. So I'm looking forward to getting it steamed up. Yeah, we did a job on the base. I sanded the base down, basically sanded off all the original varnish, and then used finishing oil, as I tend to use on my wooden bases, and it's come up really well. I believe it's actually mahogany, the base, looking at it now. Yeah, I mean, obviously if that's not original, someone's made that base up for it, but it's so nice I decided to keep it. So there we go. Right, next up, let's get it steamed. Well, the burners are light, and we've got some water dribbling out, so looks like I've overfilled it as usual. But I think it's probably ready to go. Yeah. Yes, there we go, look at that. And the regulator works superb, spraying water everywhere, so I've definitely overfilled it. safety valve's leaking, but then it wouldn't be one of my model steam engines if the safety valve didn't leak. Runs an absolute treat. I'm well pleased with that. Put some attention on the safety valve. That runs superbly. I'm really, really pleased. See how slow we can get it to run. Ooh. Mop up some of this water. Well, there you go, Wilson Brothers small vertical boiler model steam engine running like a trooper. Well pleased with that. And so far the paint seems to be holding up. Amazing. Take the burner out. Yeah, I'm well pleased with that. A bit wet, but it runs, that's what matters. Let's unflood the firebox. And also, so far the paint seems to be holding up, which I'm quite impressed with. Yes, that is one very nice engine. I have to go back and have a look at my video of the large one because I'm fairly certain that ran just like this really, really well. They're very nicely made engines. Let's have a look at that safety valve. Okay, well, there you go. Not an awful lot to say about that. That's absolutely perfect. So that's about it for the Wilson Brothers small vertical boiler model steam engine. I hope you've enjoyed this video, and thank you very much for watching. Cheers.